Start this, and I start that. So I'm recording. Hello, everybody. This is Nu-Trix, the synth guy, and this is my video about 17,000 subscribers. I got to say a huge thank you. It's been a nice ride. I started this video channel 5 years ago. It was a test in a way. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to do. I did that because I needed a place to talk about my passion about sound and music. And I wanted to understand how YouTube worked. And my background at the moment when I did that was also to do online promotion, content. So it was also a test for me to understand how all of this works. And I'm happy about it. I found a place where I can be myself, talk about the stuff that I love, test out new software and hardware. I get company to send me stuff so I can try it out. I have to say before we go further, thank you to everybody who subscribed, and thank you to everybody who actually just watch and don't subscribe. I mean, you're there. If I can do more to help you to talk about stuff that you find interesting and that I can talk about, put them in the comments. I'm going to use that to continue on making stuff that are, useful for people. I have to say thank you to all the companies who think about me and send me stuff saying, hey, I think you would like to see it. I get software companies to send me stuff. I have some hardware company who sends me stuff. I have to say thank you to Moog Audio in Montreal, who lent me a lot of gear in the last year. So I was able to test out hardware. I have to thank you, Roland, to still send me hardware so I can do some videos about it. IK Multimedia, Arturia, Nectar now. I've got something coming up with Nectar soon. All of these companies, they don't ask me anything. They just say, test out and do a review if you want to. And that's part of how I see things. I want to talk about stuff that I want, that I feel I'm comfortable being behind and talk about, hardware or software. And it's important that I can stay entirely free of saying what I want. The only time I took money to promote something was because I believe in what I was promoting, or it was done so it's on their own channel. So basically, I was paid to create videos for them, not for my YouTube channel. So what do I do to celebrate the 17,000 subscribers and the 5 years of my YouTube channel? Well, I went online and I asked people some question, asking me question. Go ahead and write down a question you want me to answer. So I have a bunch of them. I'll try to go through all of them. Some of them are funny, some of them are more personal. So let's start right away. First one was, what is your first memory involving music? It's a tough one. I had to think about it. I remember my dad telling me about listening to classical music. I think it was the Four Seasons from Vivaldi. And he was saying just like, let it play and just don't do anything. Just listen, Let yourself listen to the music and hear it and feel it. And you're going to find it interesting. And I did that for the whole album. And since then, and I only recognize that a lot, later in my years, that it's something I did often later on in my teenage years, in my early adulthood, was basically sit down between two speakers and just do nothing but listen, and having this mental image of the sound where it is and this emotion that I was just feeling. So it's a great memory I have from my father. As I was going through my souvenirs, I have also this nice souvenirs of my granddad, who used to be able to whistle any song. You would go to his place. I would help him in the summer around the house, and he would whistle songs. I could hear the whole melody of the song, and he was so good at it, I'm not even able to whistle to a dog or even held a cab by whistling. I'm not able to do any type of whistle that sounds like a whistle, but he was so good at it. So I've got this very nice memory of him just whistling around songs that everybody could just go, oh, it's that song. So These are my two very early memory of music. Your favorite music made on the iPad and why? I could say my stuff and do like a obvious promotion of my music that I do. But to be honest, I don't go back listening to my stuff often. I would say that the song that I listen probably the most from made entirely on the iPad is the Jacob Hack album called My Mellow Album. It came out in the early days of the pandemic. And it's very soft, it's very nice, and it's very comfy kind of music. I do listen to music when I sleep. I just put music on and I let it play. But it's always like soft music, so I just like have something that to bring me in and stay soft for the whole night. And this album has been it for the last year and a half. Jacob Hack, My Mellow Album. What is your biggest youth musical influence and the albums you play over and over? I would say that I started up listening to music because of my bigger brother. I was listening to what he was listening when I was very young. So he was listening to Duran Duran, Talk Talk, the New Order, and a ton of music soundtrack. He's a real movie buff. So it would have like the Blade Runner album, the Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence movie. That one kind of stuck in my mind. I remember that one. Chariots of Fire. You know, he was just into movies, so he had a lot of movie music. You know, and I would listen to that. You know, that was before I picked my own stuff. After that, I decided I went with the Police, Peter Gabriel. I went with listening to some Rush. Of course, I'm Canadian, so I had to listen to Rush at one point. I went into punk music with the Dead Kennedys, the Cramps, a little bit still punk, but more like rockabilly, lo-fi, I would say. But everything changed when I started to listen to Skinny Puppy. Somebody made me listen to electronic industrial music at that point, or techno industrial at that point. Skinny Puppy was the band that I really went around and listened for probably 15 years at that point. I listened to all their album. I went to see them live many times. I even met some of the band members later on. So at that point, it was a definite moment where I decided I want to make music with electronic instrument. So I was into Skinny Puppy music, Ministry, Nitzereb, Front 242, Frontline Assembly, of course, Kraftwerk. Now, what new artists have you discovered recently and that are real innovators? It's difficult because there's a lot of music that I like and they're really different. I would say that Arcade Fire is a force of nature for what they do and the emotion. Of course, I like the sound, the complexity of what they have, and the quality of the production, but the emotion that you get from each song. But I would say somebody that is a real innovator that does a lot of really cool music. There's this artist in Montreal, artist, producer, composer called Echo, Eekkoo. So Echo. He's really good. I like the emotion again, the vibe, the ambience he makes in these songs. And he has that detail on the sound that is really interesting. The quality of the production is amazing. And it's just a real cool vibe and real cool emotion. So Echo, you got to check him out. I'll put the links below. Oh, let's talk about apps now. In 2022, your favorite drum machine or synth and sequencer app? Okay, that's a tough one because there's a lot of really cool stuff that I find well done and useful. But if I go back to something that I actually use every time I turn on my computer or my iPad, if you talk about the iPad, I would say that honestly, today would be Zen Beats. You go, well, Zen Beats not a drum machine, it's not a synth, not a sequencer. Well, it is. You know, today in these really cool sequencer, you've got a drum machine software in it, you know, and Zen Beats has one. And I really, really enjoy Zen Beats because it runs on my iPad and my Mac and my iPhone. I can just like move stuff around and it answers my needs. And there's a drum machine in it. So I would say that's the one I use the most because of that. If we talk about the hardware, well,
I've got the TR-8S, and it is my drum machine. Synth, there's so much cool stuff on the iPad and the Mac, and they're different because not everything is everywhere. I would say that on the iPad, the one I go back the most is Bleass Alpha, because it's easy to create any type of sound. It's really cool and fast. On the computer, I would say I do a lot of stuff using Arturia stuff and the Roland Cloud synthesizers and the UVI. I mean, it's hard to say one because I just don't use one. You know, I always combine a lot of them. Favorite synth you ever played? I did work in a school for music production for 25 years, so I played a lot of different hardware devices. And I'm not really emotional about gear. I mean, I could sell everything and buy other stuff. I had a Prophet 5, I had a Micro Moog, I had a Oberoi Matrix 6, I had a JP8000, I had the SE1, I had so many really cool gear. I would say that the one, if there was one I would like to have around and just turn on and play with it, would probably be the Prophet 5. You know, I knew how to do a lot of things in it. It was really cool. It sounded really warm. It was just a cool synth to work with, you know. Still, the bass was muddy, so not a real good one for, you know, tight bass. It was a really cool synth to play with. Sold it, and I would not look back on it. That's a joke. That's from Jamie. What's your beauty regime? He's always telling me that I'm the best looking YouTuber out there. I don't think I am, but thank you anyway. I always look younger than my age. I've been asked when I was 28 if I had my ID card to buy beer, you know, so it's been always like a funny thing for me. On my YouTube channel, I always look better. Not always, but I tend to polish the image so I look better. What you see right now is the image from the Sony camera that I use. It's a Alpha, I think 600, and it gives me like good quality, high quality, and a good optical lens with that. So it's the one that looks a lot better, and the focus is better, and you see the background separately, and you see my face. You know, it's a better camera. Whereas on this one, you have the iPad filming me. So right away, you see the difference in the quality. And if I record with my iPhone, so it's me on my camera. This is on the iPhone, on the Sony, and on the iPad. The Sony has this type of natural filter in it that makes it looks better, you know, cleaner and nicer. So I would say that my beauty regime is the good optics of the Sony camera. Do you have a Keytar? Nope. And I don't see why I would have one. Is there a piece of gear that you kept all these years hoping that you would get more out of it, but you never did and thought you would use it more? If so, what is it and why? I have this thing here. I have this. This is the Focusrite VRM, the Virtual Reference Monitoring Box. This is probably 15 years old now, or at least 10 years old. This system was a virtual modeling reference system that used to be on hardware, high-end hardware of the Focusrite series. And then at one point, they just took everything out, just kept that reference system and put it in a small box. Actually, the software runs in the computer, and this is just a audio out. This is just a sound card, basically. So there's no DSP in this. But the software, I still have it. I still own it. I still have it in my computer. I kept a Mac Mini old OS to be able to run it. But what this does is recreates a space where you can play back your music and listen to different type of speakers in different environments. So it changes the room, the size, and it's one way that I always wanted to be able to check out my mix and master songs, because I don't have a real good studio here for critical listening. I got okay speakers. My room is a square. It's the worst possible shape I could have, and very little treatment in it. So I cannot say that this is a critical environment at all. And it could be a question I could answer later on if somebody asks about, acoustics in the studios. Because I did design studios in the past. I did design a couple of isolated booths. So I could really do a long video about acoustics in studios and converting a room to a critical space. But I don't have one. I don't have one because life is like that, and I use what I have. And so this was always something that I kept saying, I'll be able to mix with this. It's there, it's been collecting dust, and I never used it. So, yeah, that's one piece of hardware that I wish I used more. I thought I would be using it more, and I'm just not using it at all. Do your student understand and or recognize your YouTube celebrity status? First of all, I don't see myself as a YouTube celebrity. I'm not somebody who people recognize on the street, and I'm fine with that. That's not my goal. I used to work in a music and audio production school for 25 years. And it's not something that I talked a lot to students about, the fact that I had a YouTube channel. Some students asked me about my music and what I did as a creator, and I pointed to the YouTube channel, and they were surprised. They didn't expect that from me. But I left that school 2 years ago. Now I work as a director of operation in a national comedy school, which is the École Nationale de l'Humour in Montreal. And we train comedians, stand-ups, and writers for anything that is related to comedy. Some of them, they come in at the school and they already have a follow-up bigger than mine. So my little 17 subscribers is little compared to them. But what it gives me when I tell them what I do is street credibility. So now, oh, okay, you're also a creator and you have some people that follows you. So it gives me street creds. So that's really the part that is interesting. How much do you earn with YouTube? Really? Really not enough. To be honest, I have a full-time job because YouTube is not paying me enough. And I understand. I have no problem with that. To be honest, my income is between $150 per month to about $350 per month. And 350 Canadian dollar was in the pandemic where a lot of people were at home. So the amount of views went up and how much people were paying to be in front of your eyes went up because more people wanted to be a publicist on YouTube. That's something, if you want to know about how you make money on YouTube, I could do a whole video about that, about how the income works. But in my case, it means that my YouTube channel on a good year brings me about $3,500, $3,500. That's like a good year right now. I wish I had enough money to pay like for vacation with my kids and my wife. That would be kind of a cool thing to have. But, when it happens, it's going to happen. What app was your biggest disappointment in terms of the gap between hype and reality? That's a tough one because I don't want to really answer by naming any app, because I have this motto that if I don't have anything good to say about it, I'm not going to say anything about it. I don't know. It's just I can critique something to make it better, but if I don't see the interest of having this, I'm not going to talk about it because I might be wrong. I might be not seeing why somebody would like it. I might not see the workflow in which this app works, and it might not just have the right angle to look at it. So anything that I find not interesting, I'm just gonna not talk about it. I have a couple of these software in my mind, but I'm not gonna say anything. No name. What app was a go-to favorite of yours and you haven't opened in years? I would say on Mac, it would be Reason. I used to do so much in Reason. It was my main tool to create for years and years and years. And what I loved about it is like it looked like having a studio. You have hardware, and the cool thing about Reason is you turn it back and you have, all these gates and CV connection in the back, and it opens up to the world that I love about interconnection. On the iPad, it would be Gadget from Korg. I used to create everything I had on the iPad with this. I made a whole album link there on the Gadget. And For the last 2 years, I only use Gadget to open old songs and export them. Right now, Zen Beats is the app where I am. What do you use to mix and master your music? Headphones or speakers? Okay, so that's a really important one for me because I do my own mixes and mastering. My main problem, like I said earlier, my studio here is not a critical environment. So there's always something that is kind of wrong in the way the listening feedback of the room will be affecting me. So what I do, I usually mix with my iPad now, and I use the iPad speakers right away. So I can feel what it sounds on really cheap, small speakers, because there is going to be limits. Some stuff will pop out, some stuff will not sound very loud. Then I listen to headphones. I've got the V-Modas, and I have the Roland RH300. They might not be the best, but I know them. I know how they sound. I know when I listen with these headphones that if it sounds like that, the translation to the rest of the world should be okay. So if something sticks out in a weird way, I know what to do with it. Then what I do, I save my songs in my Apple Music app on my Mac. I still use the cloud library of my own music. It's something you pay like $30 per year, and you put your song on your Mac, it's going to load into the cloud, and you have that, WAV file available in all of your iPhone and iPad library right away because it's in the cloud. So then what I do, I go to my car and I play back that in my car. And I hear other things. I see maybe the bass now is wrong, maybe some guitars or some synth are just too loud. So I listen to a lot of different places, and I write down either physically or mentally what I would like to change. And often it's just like, okay, after that part, it's basically I should bring down this instrument to let some space for this other instrument. So it's mostly that I do. Or if sometime after listening to all these versions, I go back to the production. I go back to, okay, too much effects here. There's too long of a gap before I go back to this song, this part of the song. So I might go back and edit the song. So I stay in the production, mixing, mastering, and I loop this as probably a 2-week process. And then I've got a song that I go, this is finished. I can mix it. So my mastering is kind of complex in a way. And how much do you charge to listen to 30 minutes of created music and give a decent, honest, comprehensive assessment? Well, I do one-on-one consultation. If you look at my YouTube channel, there's often the link below. You go on my YouTube channel or you go on my Facebook page, and a 1-hour consultation is about $50. And it could be to help you set up your system, answering a question, teach you on synthesis, and that. I listen to 30 minutes of music and I give you 30 minutes of comments about it. And yeah, I would say that $50 for an hour. And that's it. That's all the question I had. Thank you very much for your interest in what I do. Thank you for watching my videos and sharing the content that I create. Again, if you want more YouTube related stuff, how to make videos, how to promote them, how to do the cover page, how the cover picture. If you're a creator and you want more of that, put it in the comments below. I'll prepare some videos about how to optimize your understanding of all the stats and analytics of YouTube, and understanding how you make money and how you don't make money, and how to bring more people in. And that's it. Stay safe, make more music, and again, a huge thank you for your support. Cheers.